Alright, Landfall recently released another faction for tabs, and as is tradition around here, I'm going to go in depth with the units in this new faction. I'll be going into their strengths and weaknesses, and also come to some conclusion about how they could be used. With all that being said, please enjoy the video. First up, the Dynamite Thrower. This unit is pretty much what it says on the tin. The Dynamite Thrower is this faction's peasant unit, a term I like to use for the cheapest and most basic unit in a faction, that most of the time has a pretty simple melee attack. For the most part, the Dynamite Thrower fits this role well, but stands out amongst its fellow peasants with a gimmick. Before this unit commences the slapping, it throws one bundle of dynamite, and after a set time passes, it goes off. This unit does only have the one piece of dynamite, and after it's thrown, the unit calls upon its bare hands. This unit throws its dynamite at whatever unit it attacks first, and as the dynamite is on a timer, it oftentimes also kills the thrower, which could be considered a detriment. However, this unit does only cost 120 points, meaning they're pretty expendable, so Kamikaze is a pretty viable strategy with this unit. To conclude the Dynamite Thrower, it's an okay peasant unit that throws dynamite. That's about all I can really say about the legacy of this unit though. Next up, the Miner. This unit uses a large pickaxe to attack enemies, as is expected of a unit called the Miner. The damage from the pickaxe is pretty good, and it also has a pretty decent area of effect. Out of all of the new units, I would say this guy is probably one of the better ones. Hear me out. For the price, the pickaxe does pretty good damage, so you're already looking pretty good. But it also has the AoE, which is functionally similar to the Tree Giant. Add them together, slap a cheap point cost, and you got yourself a pretty damn good unit. The Miner is pretty good at taking out groups of peasant units, or just general crowd control. The Miner is also the first instance of amazing mustache syndrome. The Wild West faction got diagnosed with a pretty severe case of it. The Miner costs 200 points, making one of the cheaper units in the update, and like previously mentioned, the price is pretty good considering what you get in return. Good damage, good AoE, and a fine mustache. Cactus. As well as looking pretty funny, this unit has a lot going on. In theory, this unit is pretty good. It has its standard attack, which is hitting units with those prickly gloves it has. It can shoot thorns in all directions, which is pretty good for when this unit gets swarmed. It also possesses the ability to drain health of an enemy by holding it against its body. This is signified by the target unit turning dirty. In theory, this unit has a pretty good ability setup. In practice, I feel like this unit dies way too easily. It's not awful by any means, but for all the abilities this unit has, it doesn't perform as great as you would expect. The thorns don't do that much damage. The life drain ability is pretty good, but it only works on weaker units. Where the Cactus excels, however, is against ranged units. The Cactus can soak up ranged attacks similar to the blunderbuss, which does mean closing the gap is no problem for the Cactus, and ranged attacks barely have any effect on this unit, meaning that the Cactus is pretty good for taking out ranged units. But outside of this use case, the Cactus isn't that great. To conclude, the Cactus, good for dealing with ranged units, but otherwise underwhelming. Next up, the Gunslinger. Armed with 4 revolvers and great sideburns, this guy laughs in the face of anyone hiding behind a shield. This unit fires all 4 of its revolvers into the air, resulting in a storm of bullets raining down on enemy units. As this unit attacks vertically, it doesn't matter if the enemies are hiding behind shields or something similar. It also means you can get unlimited range, only if you control the Gunslinger yourself. However, the AI for some reason likes to close the gap a bit. This unit doesn't have a whole lot of health, so placing these guys at the back with some protection is advised. This unit can defeat entire groups of enemies, weaker enemies mind you. Another downside is that this unit doesn't do nearly as much damage as you'd expect, but for crowd control and as a complementary unit, this guy is pretty good. Amazing Mustache Syndrome makes a comeback with the lasso swirling, horse riding, unit abducting maniac of a unit. The Lasso unit. Yeah, this guy pretty much does what you'd expect, rides into crowds of units and wraps a lasso around one and rides off. Probably the most underwhelming unit, which is weird to say because have you seen that mustache? All jokes aside, this unit isn't great. Doesn't do that much damage, dies really easily, and has a very weak gimmick. Moving on. Next up, the Deadeye. This unit wields a rifle and fires one shot at a time. I know what you're thinking. That sounds a lot like the musket. Why does this cost nearly 4 times as much? Well, this unit's claim to fame is that it doesn't miss. The Deadeye will lock onto units, which is signified by a target icon appearing on the targeted unit. A couple seconds will pass and a unit will be struck. This unit also has a pretty decent reload. Damage is decent as well. The best word to describe this unit is decent, but I'm struggling to find a use case for the Deadeye, so if someone could help out in the comments, that would be great. To conclude this unit, well, it never misses. This finally leads us to the final unit in the Western faction, the Quick Draw. This guy is armed with a revolver and fires 6 shots in rapid succession, quickly dispatching whatever unit it happens to be shooting at. This unit's reload is also pretty good, and on top of that, this unit has a dodge. The only downside behind that dodge is that it has a long cooldown, so if the first dodge doesn't save the Quick Draw from whatever situation, it's pretty much over. This unit can fill a number of roles: crowd control, taking down larger units, and taking out units that could otherwise dodge range attacks. As the Quick Draw fires 6 shots rapidly, it can first fire a shot to trigger that unit's dodge, and then quickly redirect its aim and fire another shot before the unit gets up. The bullets do a fair bit of damage, they're able to one-shot squires. To conclude the Quick Draw, it's a multi-purpose, quick-firing unit. That's all the units in this new faction, a few good and a couple underwhelming. Landfall has said, and a couple of you guys have also told me, that this isn't the last faction that's going to release in the early access. I have no idea what they have left in store. But that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave it a like and perhaps consider subscribing to get more content just like this. And with all that being said, I will see you in the next one.